Imagine this. You're in the middle of a heated argument, your emotions running high as you try to express how their actions have hurt you. But instead of responding, they simply stop talking. The silence stretches on, heavy and suffocating, leaving you feeling confused, frustrated, and even more unheard than before. What just happened? Why did they choose silence over resolution? If you've ever found yourself baffled by a narcissist's refusal to engage, you're about to uncover the psychological layers behind their silences, and why these moments are far from neutral. Intrigued? Stick around, because today we're diving deep into the unspoken power plays hidden within a narcissist's silences. By the end of this discussion, you'll not only understand what drives these behaviors, but also gain tools to navigate them with resilience and clarity. Before we begin, let me extend an invitation to join me on this journey of understanding. As a psychologist who has studied human behavior and worked closely with individuals navigating toxic relationships, I know firsthand how disorienting it can be to deal with a narcissist's silences. These moments aren't just awkward pauses. They are calculated tactics designed to manipulate, control, or destabilize you emotionally. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and prepare to arm yourself with insights that will transform the way you perceive and respond to their silent treatment. While you're here, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and share it with anyone who might benefit from hearing its message. Together, we can create a community of awareness, strength, and empowerment. Let's start by addressing the core question. Why does a narcissist fall silent in the first place? At first glance, their refusal to speak might seem passive, a retreat from conflict, or an inability to articulate their feelings. But dig deeper, and you'll discover that their silences are anything but accidental. For a narcissist, silence is a weapon wielded strategically to maintain dominance and evade accountability. When faced with criticism, confrontation, or emotional demands, they often retreat into stony quietude, leaving you scrambling for answers. This tactic serves multiple purposes. It deflects attention away from their behavior, punishes you for daring to challenge them, and forces you to take responsibility for fixing the situation. Have you ever noticed how their silence feels like a vacuum, pulling you back into the conversation despite your best intentions to stand firm? That's exactly the effect they're aiming for. Now let's talk about the psychology behind their use of silence as a form of punishment. Narcissists thrive on control, and one of the most effective ways they assert dominance is by withholding communication. By refusing to engage, they strip you of your voice, making you feel invisible and insignificant. This deliberate act of omission taps into a primal fear of abandonment and rejection, triggering anxiety and self-doubt. Over time, their silence becomes a tool for conditioning. You learn to avoid certain topics or suppress your emotions to prevent another round of cold treatment. Picture this. Every time you reach out during one of their silent episodes, you inadvertently reinforce their belief that they hold all the power. Isn't it frustrating to realize how easily their silence can manipulate your responses? But here's the catch. Their silence isn't just about punishing you. It's also about protecting themselves. Narcissists lack the capacity for genuine introspection, which means they struggle to process emotions like guilt, shame, or vulnerability. When confronted with truths that threaten their carefully constructed facade, they instinctively shut down as a defense mechanism. Their silence shields them from having to confront uncomfortable realities about their own behavior, allowing them to preserve their inflated sense of self-worth. In essence, when a narcissist goes silent, they're not just ignoring you, they are retreating into a fortress of denial. Can you see how their inability to face themselves perpetuates the cycle of toxicity? Let's delve deeper into the concept of stonewalling, a term psychologists use to describe the act of withdrawing from communication during conflicts. Stonewalling is particularly damaging because it leaves the other person feeling abandoned mid-conversation, amplifying feelings of frustration and helplessness. A narcissist employs stonewalling not as a means of processing their emotions, but as a way to punish and intimidate. For example, imagine expressing valid concerns about their actions, only to be met with icy indifference or outright dismissal. This abrupt withdrawal invalidates your perspective and forces you to question whether you're overreacting or being unreasonable. Doesn't it feel exhausting to constantly second-guess yourself while they remain unaccountable? Speaking of accountability, let's explore why a narcissist's silence often coincides with moments of potential exposure. When cornered with evidence of their wrongdoing, whether it's lies, manipulation, or betrayal, they default to silence as a way to evade responsibility. Instead of addressing the issue head-on, they retreat into a cocoon of non-responsiveness, hoping the storm will pass without requiring them to admit fault. This avoidance tactic reinforces their narrative of superiority. Admitting mistakes would shatter the illusion of infallibility they work so hard to maintain. Imagine this scenario. You present irrefutable proof of their deception, yet they refuse to acknowledge it, choosing instead to disappear into silence. How maddening is it to watch them sidestep accountability so effortlessly? Now, let's circle back to the impact their silence has on you emotionally. Being subjected to prolonged periods of stonewalling takes a toll on your mental health, eroding your confidence and amplifying feelings of isolation. Over time, you may find yourself walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around sensitive topics to avoid triggering another episode of radio silence. This dynamic fosters resentment, as you internalize the belief that your needs and opinions are less important than maintaining peace at any cost. Picture this. Each unanswered text, each ignored plea for dialogue chips away at your sense of worth, leaving you questioning whether you deserve better. Isn't it heartbreaking to realize how much energy you pour into trying to bridge a gap they refuse to acknowledge? Let's pause for a moment and reflect on the role of boundaries in combating their silences. One of the most empowering steps you can take is setting clear limits on what you will tolerate in a relationship. For instance, if a narcissist uses silence as a form of punishment, calmly communicate that such behavior is unacceptable and outline the consequences if it continues. While they may initially resist or escalate their tactics, consistency is key. Each boundary you enforce sends a powerful message. Their attempts to manipulate through silence no longer hold sway over you. Wouldn't it feel liberating to reclaim your agency by refusing to play along with their games? Now let's talk about the transformative power of mindfulness in navigating a narcissist's silences. Mindfulness, the practice of staying present and fully engaged with the current moment, is essential when dealing with someone whose favorite tactic is emotional withdrawal. Their goal is to destabilize you, forcing you to react impulsively or beg for validation. By practicing mindfulness, you cultivate the ability to observe their behavior without immediately reacting, allowing you to respond strategically rather than emotionally. Techniques such as deep breathing, grounding exercises, and visualization can help you remain centered during tense interactions. For example, when confronted with their silence, take a moment to breathe deeply and remind yourself that their reaction, or lack thereof, is not a reflection of your value. How much stronger would you feel knowing that their silence no longer dictates your emotional state? Let's explore the ripple effects of standing firm against a narcissist's silences. When you consistently refuse to yield to their manipulative tactics, it disrupts the dynamic they've worked so hard to establish. They may double down on their efforts, escalating their withdrawal or attempting to provoke you into submission. However, each time you resist their pull, you weaken their grip on the relationship. Additionally, exposing their silences to others, whether through calm observation or factual reporting, can illuminate patterns of dysfunction that might otherwise go unnoticed. Friends, family members, or colleagues may begin to recognize the toxicity underlying their behavior, further isolating them from sources of supply. Doesn't it feel validating to know that truth has a way of surfacing, even in the most controlled environments? Now let's discuss the importance of fostering genuine connections outside the narcissist's orbit. Narcissists isolate their targets, convincing them that no one else understands or appreciates them the way they do. Breaking this cycle requires reconnecting with trusted friends, family members, or mentors who affirm your worth and provide perspective. Building a network of authentic relationships not only restores your sense of belonging, but also diminishes the narcissist's influence over your life. Imagine this: the more love, support, and validation you receive from healthy sources, the less reliant you become on the narcissist's conditional affection. How fulfilling would it feel to replace toxicity with positivity? But here's the thing: healing is not linear. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and days when the weight of everything feels unbearable. And that's okay. Progress isn't measured by perfection, it's measured by persistence. Each time you choose to prioritize your well-being over the narcissist's demands, each time you resist the urge to give in to fear or guilt, you move closer to liberation. Trust that every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you deserve. Wouldn't it feel rewarding to look back someday and see how far you've come? Let's touch on the societal factors that complicate recognizing and confronting narcissistic behavior. Our culture often glorifies charismatic personalities, portraying charm, confidence, and grandiosity as desirable traits. Movies, books, and social media perpetuate myths that normalize unhealthy relationship dynamics, making it harder to discern healthy versus toxic behaviors. Additionally, societal stigma surrounding vulnerability and independence can add pressure to stay in dysfunctional relationships. Understanding these influences is crucial, as it highlights the systemic nature of the issue. Armed with this awareness, you can challenge societal norms and advocate for healthier standards in your personal life and beyond. How might advocating for change amplify your impact? Let's pause and reflect on forgiveness, not for the narcissist, but for yourself. Holding on to anger, resentment, or bitterness toward yourself only prolongs your healing journey. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or absolving the narcissist of responsibility. It means releasing the burden of carrying their pain. When you forgive yourself, you acknowledge your humanity and embrace the lessons learned along the way. This act of liberation clears space for positivity, enabling you to focus on building a fulfilling future. Can you imagine the lightness that comes with letting go of self-imposed judgment? Now, picture this scenario. Months or even years down the road, you encounter your ex-narcissist, or hear about them through mutual acquaintances. Instead of bitterness or regret, you feel a profound sense of peace, knowing that you survived their toxicity and emerged stronger on the other side. Perhaps they've lost their job due to unethical practices, struggled to maintain meaningful relationships, or faced public humiliation after their lies caught up with them. Whatever the outcome, you realize that their struggles stem directly from the seeds they planted long ago. Meanwhile, you've grown into a wiser, more resilient version of yourself, surrounded by people who genuinely cherish and support you. Doesn't that realization make all the pain and heartache worth it? Thank you for joining me today and taking the time to explore this critical topic. If you found this discussion helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this content with others who might benefit from it. Your support helps us reach more people and build a community dedicated to healing, growth, and empowerment. Don't hesitate to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, experiences, and any questions you might have. Until next time, take care of yourself, honor your journey, and trust that you are capable of incredible things. You've got this.